This is the Vanmoof Electrified 3. It's a city bike designed to blend in and be as simple and efficient as possible. This thing weighs 43 pounds, 42.9 actually. A relatively lightweight, very good balance because the batteries are integrated into this top tube here. It's got these super efficient and sort of almost intelligent systems that you work with, starting out with this cool key, sort of like unlocks the bike. There's also built-in GPS, so you can sort of track it for security purposes. The electronics are all wired through the frame, as you can see here, and the interface is, I don't know how it's like futuristic almost, in the sense that it's fully charged, so you get this pulsing blue. You've got 2 levels of power to choose from, so right now we're at like 1 or half, and you press right there and it goes to full. So just, 2 speeds sort of to choose from. Here's the lights. When you press this button here, it turns on the front light or off. So there we go. Got these nice fenders, so if you're riding in the city, you're going to stay clean. A beautiful rack with fairly standard gauge tubing, really bolted down so it's solid. I mean, this bike definitely feels solid. There really isn't a lot of suspension, there's no suspension fork, but it does have these sort of bumpers on the seat that help a little bit. And the overall ride quality of this isn't too bad because you've got these Big Apple Schwalbe tires here with the nice reflective sidewalls, and of course disc brakes front and rear mechanical. So that's going to give you decent stopping power, and it just gives it that nice clean look. Also, the kickstand is solid. So there's definitely an aesthetic about this bike that's pleasing, and these semi-swept back handlebars that are relatively easy to reach, and this nice little built-in bell. Kind of a fan of that. I've seen it on a couple other bikes recently. So in terms of riding this bike, there just isn't a whole lot that you have to worry about. I mean, you got brakes, a bell, and pedals. And that's it. As soon as you start pedaling, you're in the first gear of this SRAM Automatics geared hub. And as you start going faster, it automatically senses that and switches up. And so it gives you a higher range to pedal at. It goes from the low gear for climbing and low speeds to the high gear for reaching that like 20 mile per hour top speed that the motor cuts out. So this motor is a 250 watt geared design built right into the front, and there again, no throttle. There's really nothing to choose besides what level of assist you want, half or full. And as you start pedaling, it senses that and it kicks in and it assists you in a relatively quiet way. Just adds to your cadence. With each pedal stroke you take, you're getting a little bit of extra power. So riding this bike is, again, simple, it's clean and elegant. One of the other things that I like about it is it's just got that single ring on the front and really no gears to change, so the chain is extra tight. It doesn't rattle around, it's not loud, and it's sealed in this nice plastic, I'd almost call it like a chain guard or whatever. I mean, you can't even hardly see it. I had to really kind of get close up to determine that indeed it is a chain, it's not a belt drive. And I just think that's neat. It's a cool system. The design is probably the neatest feature. Riding it around is a little bit bumpy and somewhat jarring. Recently I tested the Ride, which is another bike like this, like a city bike, single speed, born on Kickstarter, and it felt a little bit smoother. It also had batteries built in, but instead of putting them in the top tube, it had them in the down tube, which keeps weight a little bit lower. So all things considered, with the front hub motor and the top tube battery pack, it's a pretty balanced bike and one that works pretty well. So I'm gonna hop on and you can see what it sounds like. There we go, it just switched speeds in the rear. That's it. That's the Vanmoof Electrified. And riding it around New York City here. It's been a lot of fun. doesn't seem to cut off the brakes, so a couple times I was squeezing and pedaling and I noticed the motor was still pulling me along. It's neat to see stuff like this that blends in, especially because here in New York, you know, electric bikes are, some of the legislation is still being worked out. And the fact that you can't take the battery out to charge it, you basically have to take the whole bike inside, which, you know, isn't terrible. It's relatively lightweight, and I love, you know, it's perfectly flat. This thing will work really well on like car racks and stuff, but it's just a little bit different. It's an alternative design out there. I love the fact that they've put so much into the aesthetic and the human interface right here that just, you know, make it simple. You can't tell how fast you're going. You're not going to be able to tell how far you've gone, whatever, but it blends in and it works pretty well. It's kind of a neat alternative. So it's the Vanmoof Electrified. For the full written review on this bike, including pictures and specs and stuff, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com.